Family killed in Daylesford hotel crash identified, Pratibha Sharma, her daughter Anvi and partner Jatin among 5 killed in tragic crash. We're sorry, this feature is currently unavailable. We're working to restore it. Please try again later. The Age. Sections. Network. Advertisement. Updated. National. Victoria. Tragedy. Victims of Daylesford pub crash identified. By David Escort and Marta Pascual Juanola. Save articles for later. Add articles to your saved list and come back to them anytime. Key points. 5 people died after an SUV plowed through a Daylesford beer garden on Sunday evening. Another 5 people were injured, with a young boy and 11-month-old baby among those in hospital. The driver, a 66-year-old from Mount Macedon, was not known to police and had no prior convictions. He returned a negative alcohol reading at the scene and remains in hospital. Witnesses described the moment the SUV mounted the curb from nearby Albert Street and struck patrons, saying they heard a loud bang. The popular beer garden was busy during a warm spring evening. Visitors had flocked to the tourist town ahead of Melbourne Cup Day. Advertisement. A woman who ran for state parliament and local council was killed along with her young daughter and partner in the devastating Daylesford beer garden crash that left 5 people dead on Sunday evening. Pratibha Sharma, 44, her daughter, Anvi, 9, and partner Jatin, 30, were killed after an SUV ploughed through a packed beer garden, striking several patrons who were dining outside the Royal Daylesford Hotel in the regional tourist town. Members of a family they were holidaying with were also killed and injured. Pratibha Sharma, 44, her partner Jatin, 30, and her daughter Anvi, 9, have been identified as 3 of the victims of the Daylesford crash. The driver of the SUV, a 66-year-old Mount Macedon man, is expected to be interviewed by major crash investigators on Tuesday. He now holds the key to unraveling how a weekend getaway between 2 families to a popular tourist town turned to tragedy. Gurjit Singh, secretary of the Australian Sikh Support Group, confirmed Sharma and her family had been killed in the crash. Singh said Sharma joined the group as a volunteer in 2020 during the pandemic and helped deliver food and groceries to people in quarantine. She was very dedicated to helping other people, he said. Sharma and her partner, both from Point Cook, died at the scene. Her daughter was taken to hospital but later died. An aerial view of the crash scene, credit, Joe Armau. They had been holidaying with their friends, who were also struck by the SUV. Taneek man Vivek Bhatia, 38, and his 11-year-old son, Vahan, died instantly, while Bhatia's 36-year-old wife, Ruchi Bhatia, and their other son, Aba, aged 6, were rushed to hospital with serious injuries. Advertisement. Taneek man Vivek Bhatia Baji, 38, and his son Vahan, 11, were both killed in the Daylesford crash. His wife Ruchi Bhatia, 36, and their 6-year-old son, Aba, were injured. She remained in the Royal Melbourne Hospital Intensive Care Unit on Monday night and her son was in a stable condition at the Royal Children's Hospital after suffering broken legs and internal injuries. Royal Daylesford Hotel patron Anthony Francis had been in the beer garden on Sunday evening but went inside shortly before 6 p.m. Minutes later, he returned to carnage. Francis, his voice shaking, said the tranquil setting had been transformed in an instant. There was a lot of blood, broken bones, he said. It looked pretty much like a war zone, he said. Remarkably, another group of diners, which included an 11-month-old baby, survived the collision. A 43-year-old Kyneton woman and a 38-year-old Cockatoo man are in hospital but stable. The baby is also recovering well after being taken to hospital with his 34-year-old mother who was not hurt. The SUV's driver spent a second night in hospital being treated for shock. He is not known to police, has no prior convictions and returned a negative alcohol reading at the scene. Police Chief Commissioner Shane Patton remained circumspect on Monday about whether the driver was to blame, but said the scene was confronting, chaotic and distressing for first responders. You can't train someone for that, he said. It's one of the most confronting scenes, I am being told, that experienced officers have been to. It may haunt them forever. Investigators spent Sunday night and much of Monday trying to reconstruct the scene and collecting CCTV footage of the area. Many people will now be questioning the fragility of life and how it can be over so simply, Patton said. It is an absolute tragedy what has occurred here. We will be doing everything we can to determine what has happened. More than a dozen bouquets were placed outside the hotel on Monday morning, with mourners and well-wishers hugging and wiping away tears. On Monday night, hundreds of locals gathered for a vigil in Daylesford. CFA Captain Glenn Webster spoke of the profound admiration he had for his staff, who had responded to the injured and dead. I'm emotional because of what my team has been through, he said, the way it's going to shatter the community, but I'm protective of them and I know some of them are shattered too. Mourners gather at the Daylesford vigil, credit, David Escort. Witnesses described the moment the car left the road as it failed to negotiate a bend in Albert Street, a 50 km/h zone, mounted the curb and struck patrons sitting at picnic tables. Members of the public rushed to help the injured. Kimi Moshiki, 49, was seated across the road at the RSL, heard a loud bang as the SUV hit a light pole, lurched towards the roundabout and finally came to a stop. We heard the noise. We heard a bang, looked up, saw the car hit the pole, she said. It bounced and then stopped right there, and all the bodies hit the ground. Moshiki said the driver remained seated in his car, looking straight ahead and not reacting. Floral tributes are laid at the crash scene on Monday. Credit, Joe Armau. I saw people just trying to react in emergency mode, she said. Hepburnshire Mayor Brian Hood said the community would be absolutely devastated. This is completely out of the ordinary. So it'll hit people hard, because it's happened right in the middle of town at a very popular pub, very popular outdoor dining area for people. People are well and truly aware of the area, and for something like that to happen so unexpectedly, it'll have a severe impact on some people. The damaged BMW SUV outside the pub on Sunday night. Credit, 9. He expressed concerns for the mental well-being of first responders and the local community. I feel for the first responders who had a very confronting scene to deal with. They did a brilliant job, of course, as did the council staff. Ambulance Victoria Regional Director Trevor Weston said local crews were among the first to respond and found venue patrons and the public trying to help the injured. He said the scene was confronting and chaotic. I can only imagine what the community would be feeling this morning, a very close-knit community, he said. Some of the initial crews responding were from Daylesford, and of course, our thoughts are with them. You never want to respond to anything like this, but certainly not in your hometown. Jenna Raquarola and James Derriou, who were visiting from Melbourne's northern suburbs, laid flowers at the scene on Monday. They left the pub and returned for dinner, arriving 5 minutes after the incident unfolded. People that were first on the scene were traumatized, they were beside themselves, and it didn't happen to them, they were just watching it, Derriou said. Aquarola described eerie scenes in the popular town, which was bustling ahead of the Melbourne Cup public holiday. There were people everywhere, standing around just everywhere. Everyone was quiet, she said. A healthcare worker who asked not to be named said she arrived at the scene to find a pair of children's shoes strewn a long distance from one another. I also saw at least 4 phones on the road, she said. It was so real, so human. The head of road policing operations, Superintendent John Fitzpatrick, praised quick acting onlookers who rushed to help after the crash unfolded. No one wants to see what has occurred here, Fitzpatrick said. But it is amazing what people do when others are injured. From what I've been told, there were a lot of people who attended to those who have been injured and killed. Out of a terrible set of circumstances, people have really done the right thing and tried to help. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese expressed his condolences for the crash victims from Beijing, where he will meet the Chinese president on Monday. We are all shocked by what happened in Daylesford, and so deeply saddened, for those whose lives were so cruelly cut short, and for those who can never be the same again, he wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. The hearts of all Australians go out to everyone affected, including loved ones, friends, first responders and the Daylesford community. Ballarat MP Catherine King also expressed her condolences, saying, 5 people have lost their lives, 5 families have had their lives changed forever. It will really have shocked a lot of people, and I think we'd really only just be coming to terms to what happened today. She said the beer garden would have been a busy scene before the crash, adding that it was set up post-COVID with picnic tables, chairs, and an ice cream shop. It was a really warm night last night. We've got a long weekend in Melbourne with the Melbourne Cup, as well as a major tourism destination, which was pretty busy last night. The crash comes as Victoria's road toll is at a 15-year high. The first half of 2023 was the deadliest on the state's roads in more than a decade and the equal deadliest of the past 18 years. So far this year, 204 people have died on Victorian roads, a 16.7% increase compared with the same time last year. With Roy Ward, Benjamin Price and Caroline Schell. Start the day with a summary of the day's most important and interesting stories, analysis and insights. Sign up for our morning edition newsletter. Tragedy. Daylesford. Most viewed in national. From our partners. Advertisement. The Age. Twitter. Facebook. Instagram. RSS. Copyright 2023.